The Gibraltar government was quick to state that the situation in the Chagos Islands is completely different to that of Gibraltar, but it hasn't stopped Conservative MPs from condemning the decision and its implications for other overseas territories. The governor of the Falkland Islands issued a statement to reassure fears of a read across. She said UK ministers have been very clear throughout the process that the UK will not agree to anything that runs the risk of jeopardising sovereignty in other overseas territories. But it wasn't long before some outlets questioned Keir Starmer's commitment to the OTs. Headlines like these, recollections of the 2001 joint sovereignty proposal, and the uncertainty over a treaty might leave Gibraltarians feeling a little uneasy.
People need to be reassured. First of all, the Chagos is different to Gibraltar, just like, for example, Hong Kong was different to Gibraltar. The political circumstances surrounding it, the process of historical evolution which led there was completely and utterly different. And that is the case now. And people can rest assured the assurances we've had from the Labour government when they were elected was they would continue the same policy as their predecessors. They've said that in public, they've said that to us in private. That has not changed at all. And we have, in addition to that, the security afforded to us by the guarantees contained in the preamble to the Constitution. In addition to that, the fact that there will be no talks on sovereignty without the consent of Gibraltar, plus there will be no discussions about us at which we're not present. So I think we can rest assured that the two situations are completely different and that we have nothing to worry about.
Different as it might be, let's talk about the optics of it. Could there be implications, at least in terms of how it looks, further calls for Gibraltar sovereignty around the negotiating table?
None whatsoever. First of all, because sovereignty is not a matter for negotiation. But also, just to give another example on the differences, Gibraltar is in the United Nations list of non-self-governing territories, pending decolonization. The most important aspects in relation to decolonization are the wishes of the people of the territory. In our case, the wishes of the people of Gibraltar and our right to self-determination. That is the paramount consideration. Chagos was not on the United Nations list of non-self-governing territories because Mauritius was decolonized in 1965. So they were not on that list. So our position in international law is therefore different.
The convent has reiterated the UK government's support for Gibraltar, stating it would never enter into a sovereignty arrangement against the people of Gibraltar's democratically expressed wishes. Speaking to GBC in 2017, before he was elected as leader of the party, Keir Starmer stressed that this was also Labour's policy.
Labour will absolutely fight for the status and sovereignty of Gibraltar. There should be no change to that without the consent of the people of Gibraltar. So we will fight hard for Gibraltar in these negotiations.
However, former Defence Secretary Grant Shapps said the move shows the PM cannot be trusted to protect British interests. On the Rock, the leader of the opposition echoed the words of the Gibraltar government, but also stressed that British interests and Gibraltar's interests are different.
There are no parallels, really, in relation to the Chagos Islands. We are a modern European territory. We fight for ourselves. But I think the important lesson from these things is to ensure that we fight for our own interests, because the interests of the British government and Gibraltar are very different. And, the joint sovereignty experience of 2001-2002 tells us precisely that even now, 20 years ago, there was an attempt to agree a deal over our heads. So whenever there's negotiations over Gibraltar's future, the Gibraltar government should be involved and should have the last say.
The Chief Minister has said he's confident that Gibraltar would be able to defeat any legal attempt by a UK government to subvert our right to determine our future, but that day would never come. Despite the assurances that Gibraltar's case is different to the Chagos, while we continue to have uncertainty about a future relationship treaty, developments like this are sure to fuel nervousness.